Hi, today's part of our Business Spotlight program. I'm with Fergus O'Connor. He's the MD and founder of Trident Project Engineering based in Cork. So over to you, Fergus. What is it you've been doing? What is it you do? For how long have you been doing it?
Hi, Kevin. It's great to be on the to be invited on the podcast. I've been working in building basically chemical plants for the last 26 years. We're basically based in Cork. I've worked in a number of organizations throughout my career. And I suppose my main claim to fame is that in 2012 we'd have won a worldwide award in engineering for building effectively chemical plants. That was basically we did like a 5.5 million euro project for 65,000. We had a couple of those, which were great at the time. We got a kind of a night out and everything in the Maryborough here in Cork, which is brilliant actually to get everybody together.
Mm.
It's been a very enjoyable journey so far, and I suppose 4 years ago I'd have basically branched out on my own and set up Trident Project Engineering, and luckily enough, we've had some very good people come with us, and we've had some great clients as well that have invested in us and taken a journey to build their plans with them. I've been extremely fortunate, I suppose, so far in my career, and yeah, that's kind of our journey so far.
Fantastic. Well, I'm a big believer in you make your own luck,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Keep batting, as I say. Yes,
yeah, keep turning it.
one will eventually land. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's chemical plants primarily you're working on.
Yeah, so basically chemical, it's for medicines. Most of the medicines that that you will take from time to time
Yeah,
are are based out of Ireland or mainland Europe. But so basically, we have a lot of pharmaceutical plants in the Cork area. A lot of names you know.
yeah.
So basically, we just basically if you've got a new development drug and you just want to make it. So you say, look, okay, this is what it looks like in the lab, and we say, okay, we'll take from there. It's fine, and we basically retrofit an existing plant or build a new one. Like so, yeah. So I love it actually. I love chemical engineering. I love the whole the changing the projects in it. My aspect of it, and there's other directors obviously in the firm, but I like the really dangerous stuff like the hydrogens, the cyanides, the butyl lithiums, the really bad ones. I love those ones. Yeah, I love the real cut and trust, the real impossible projects. I think they're
So,
great.
so, so if I
Yeah,
see a mushroom cloud rising over the harbor, we'll know who's responsible then.
yeah, no, I just forgot to divide by two. No, that would never happen, really. Like, there's a process in
Interesting.
developing plants called a hazard and operability study. It's called a HAZOP. Most
Okay.
people don't like going. I loved them. I loved the whole.
All right.
I
Okay.
love the whole 5 day event where you investigate. Although now some of the other guys in the company said like you can't go to those anymore. You're the MD. I said, oh, but can I sneak in for the last day maybe? Can I just have a quick look in? Come on, let me.
Just you got a
So,
passion for it.
I
Fantastic.
do. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Um, okay. And the growth you've had over the year, kind of covered it a bit, but what would you attribute that to?
I suppose I kind of started out, mostly it's kind of small on the client side, and I was lucky enough that you know, I suppose I had a good career up to that point. I was thinking of taking, a little bit of a break. I was a contractor at the time, so you generally build a building and you be full on, and you maybe take 3 months off. I was a proper contractor. I used to take the 3 months, like I used to go. But someone, a company rang me and said, "Would you want to start up?" So I started with them. Um, and I suppose what it kind of attributed to was our main item basically is that we don't go over budget. We use a thing called target value design. It's for me looking at projects that go significantly over budget, it's perplexing really. I don't know how in this day and age that you don't um have the tools. The tools are available. You just need to use them. So like I don't think we would never gone over budget in any project. We manage budget like that. There's like as I call it. There's cost observation and there's cost control. So we control costs from the very start of the project, and that's all down to quantities. Except that's generally what you control the quantities at the start, you control your design. You don't have any surprises from cost for a finish. I suppose it's the same then with our project management perspective. We would project manage, but we didn't just project observe, you know. So
Mhm.
that kind of philosophy where we can, put a high level of certainty on costs, design, and schedule means that once a client kind of sees what we can offer, they generally just stick with us, you know. And and I suppose on the back of that, once you have kind of one little success or two successes, and then you start talking to ex-colleagues and they say, okay, we'll join as well because we understand that, you know, to deliver good projects, you have to have a couple of items really um the really key items that you need. One is technical ability, one is clear direction, and one is fundamental cost control. So projects are generally ran, they're not a democracy. They're more of a kind of an army style situation where you take everybody's opinion, but you have to go in a direction and you have to have clear direction and a clear roadmap where things are going. So, if change comes from left field, that's all fine. You can manage that, but a change obviously impacts your budget and your schedule. It just doesn't get absorbed, which happens in a lot of projects. So I think,
Yeah.
we consider ourselves as that kind of top level kind of, you know, designers, top level project manager and cost control
Okay.
company, you know. So that's
So,
that's our main selling point. So, that's what we offer. Um, and then we kind of stick to we kind of stick to our guns when it comes to, if you come and say you want me to build your office, and I'm going to say it's going to take this and this much money, and it's going to take this long. Well, in generally we're pretty good, we're pretty accurate. And if you said no, we needed less and less time, I said, well, it's not going to work. We can take you to it from first principles, like it's a work breakdown structure. You're building a house, you need so many blocks, you need a door behind you, you need to paint it. These things probably, don't change. We have a run rate to say it takes so many days to put up so many hour blocks or so meters of pipe work or cable lengths or HVAC systems. These are all standard quantities that people can deliver every single day, as a fitter or electrician or or as a HVAC commissioning engineer or even down to qualification. That's these are all fundamental work breakdown structure items that we have in our database, and
mhm.
this is what we run off of. So it's basically like, it doesn't matter how big the project is because you just build it block by block or item by item, like. So
So,
that's kind of fundamentally
so
why
how,
we was
where you're growing and where
why we're
people
growing. Yeah.
want to. Yeah, yeah. And so this on time, on budget, basically, and on design, I suppose, is the other.
Yeah. It's proper control really, like.
Brilliant, brilliant, absolutely great. Another one, I suppose, if you had to start from square one in business, what would you do differently?
This is a harder one for me, I suppose to answer. But look, I had a business before, which was with my wife, and it was a lovely business, really. And I suppose we were a lot younger at the time. So I remember one day inside in the business, and we had one or two key people who decided to leave, and I could see it coming and I was in the moment, and then I could see it after. I said I didn't understand exactly where it went wrong, right? Or
Mhm.
where it went wrong. I could see it going wrong, but I couldn't understand. But it took me maybe 5 years afterwards and I just kept searching for podcasts, etc. And I fundamentally figured out that these are my key people. I knew they were my key people. We treat them like our key people, but fundamentally telling they're the key people and give them, a fundamentally, I changed my whole business model to like my business is a co-op. It's a cooperative structure, profit share. And so it's available for everybody, down from the juniors to the most seniors. It's an open book, kind of way of doing business. And I just found that even myself, when I was a younger engineer, if you were really putting yourself out there on projects, you just wanted that maybe, a little bit of a buy-in saying that, this is worth, this is worth it for me. I like being in the organization, and then you can grow together. So I find that it took me it took about 5 years to figure out the issue. And when you figure it out, you're saying, how did it take, excuse me, how did it take 5 years to
Figure that one out.
figure it out, you know?
Yeah.
So I mean yeah, yeah, how did it take 5 years to figure it out, you know? So that was basically my main learning. There is obviously other learnings you have, but there was a key one, you know, like our key thing is in the company are the people. I know that everybody says that, but you know, I would probably rank my people slightly higher than my clients, just slightly because they're so important. You know, we've a lovely working culture. You know, I really enjoy it. And you know, I really value their time and I really value their effort that they put in, you know, with us here, you know. So,
Fantastic. Well, you've kind of answered my next question.
oh, sorry, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's absolutely brilliant. I mean, the passion is coming through. Um,
I'll keep going with that one. So,
yeah, yeah,
I've for
yeah.
the next question there, yeah.
Well, the next one, what have your biggest learnings been as an employer since you began in business? Which so you're saying this cooperative environment, profit.
Yeah, and I suppose equally, I suppose one of the other things, since I'm on a roll now, I'll keep going.
Go for it, Fergus. Yeah.
Um, when I started first, I suppose, you know, as an engineering company, you know, you need to be an engineer or you need to be chartered. Or obviously, you can come up from the tools and get your chartered that way. But my perception now is slightly changed. I will take when I'm looking for people, I want the personality first.
Yeah.
And secondary is the qualification because I can make up the qualification, as in like I can help them along the road to get chartered. Especially a lot of people would maybe come out with maybe a cert or that have they might be an electrician or a fitter originally. A fitter would be like a mechanic for people that wouldn't be working in the
Hmm.
industry, and they would have maybe 20 years experience. So they can become chartered. That's available if they have the right level of kind of experience, and I can help along that road. But if you
Yeah.
don't have the right attitude and kind of fit in with the team, it's very difficult to get that embedded, you know, in the team, and it can be a disruptor. So I suppose that's kind of, you know, as an employer, that's kind of my main kind of learning as well. That you know, originally you were focused on actually the qualification. The qualification is only really 20-30%. You know, you can help people along the road to get in qualification.
If
Um,
they have the right attitude, and
if
you know,
there's the right attitude, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I mean that's one of our old sayings is hire for attitude, train for skills.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
it's critical. I mean, I know when I started off coaching way back, well, 20 odd years ago now, I always thought this culture stuff was a bit fluffy. Give me the hard strategies, but it's actually the other way around. If the
yeah.
culture is right, and it's a positive culture, everybody is sharing the culture, the vision, the mission, where we're going. The strategies come much easier.
I
Everybody
mean,
want
yeah.
to carry out the strategies.
I mean, there's a thing.
Whereas if you, yeah,
There's a thing on culture. Like there's in engineering, it's like a sixth sense. It's called. But if you, I can see it actually in project teams. So let's say you were trying to design a door, and then I come over and say, look, oh, I want a circular door, you know, and the next person said, well, that's not going to work. But what about if we maybe make it rectangular, square it, and then the next person, well, what about if we make it a rectangular? So if you've got a nice culture where everybody appreciates the effort and they tolerate ideas that aren't the best, bad ideas turn into good ideas very quickly when you put 6 or 7 people in a room together. You know, nearly every project starts off with bad ideas. Like when your original project design from a very concept stage will look completely different to your finished article,
okay,
provided your culture in the middle is very supportive. And you can have a bit of a laugh and joke about, someone had a bad idea, but as long as they can just throw the ideas out, it's really is. And people ask fundamentally where the projects go wrong. That's a real key critical item. Because
well,
if you're entrenched and looking to protect your own patch without getting the blame, that is going downhill. But I can see it. I can see it in project floors. I walk into a place, I can see it. If you don't
well.
have it, it is difficult. It's difficult to get a project over the line.
Yeah, and I suppose we can all mention a few of them out in the public domain.
True, 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 true. Yeah, yeah.
Where
Don't
we
get me
one
started.
Kind of wondering how are they going twice and three times over budget, you know?
Yeah, no, yeah. It's fundamental at this stage that it's there shouldn't be there's simple enough tools there to get them right. It's and we have a lot of experience in Ireland about building projects. Building, 1 billion euro projects are not unusual in the pharmaceutical sector. It's not, and
Yeah,
building is it's the same. If you get technical expertise, you financial expertise, and you've got a good project management, not just project observation, it will
yeah,
come pretty much
yeah.
in
No,
the realms.
absolutely. I mean, I know with all the clients I'm working with, we get that culture, get it defined, get it written down, get it, this is
Yeah.
what it is. And then hiring in anyone, the first part is there a fit on the
Yes.
culture? Do they fit? Do they understand? So like interviews, I'm hiring all the time and for different clients, and we kind of give a presentation of the company first. This is what we're about. This is our vision. This is our mission. This is our culture, detailed. This is our core values. How does that sit with you? And then talk it through before we ever get onto qualifications, experience, all the rest of it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Fantastic. So the other one then is how do you balance your personal life with the business life?
I suppose I'd have learned the hard, now maybe the kind, not the hard way, but I originally grown up on a farm, a smaller farm in Kerry. So
Yeah, man.
and I suppose a dairy farm. So if anybody with a farming background in dairy would know that you're always working. It does. You milk cows every single day. So you've always been. So I was never afraid of starting at 8 and just keep going straight through. So but I found out, I suppose that um maybe from the previous business as well that you know I actually, if you delegate everything that you can possibly delegate, even if you think people aren't capable, the fact you think they're incapable is more of your own failing than. So you have to kind of leave them in there and kind of I have an open door policy. I come in and they say we can't do that, and I just start asking them questions, bring them along the road, you know, and then when you delegate, you find that you've more time to strategize, and then your working week comes down to 40. And I will be pretty militant about leaving at 5 o'clock, having dinner with my family from 5:30, until we get everybody to bed. And then if I need to go on later on, if I'm watching a match or the news, I can go on for half an hour or something. I generally don't, but I find that that this perception that you have to keep working is probably wrong. I would think, and I generally say I need to get the big decisions right, and I need to have focus time during the week, which basically means that I break my weekend into 10 slots: Monday morning, Monday evening, Tuesday morning, and then I have one slot that's just completely free for strategy or just, cleaning stuff up in your inbox. And I've, obviously slots in for people, projects. And really, if people invite me to a meeting during that time, I don't. I say, look, I decline. I say, look, my calendar's up to date. Please pick another time. And I am very, very clinical on my meetings. So I only go to the meetings where absolutely required.
Fantastic.
So, but I think 40 hours a week is there for a reason, because after that, you're generally, I would think, the way I look at it, I'm costing myself money if I'm working over 40 hours a week, because I'm,
Diminishing returns, yeah, and
diminishing, law of diminishing returns. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. Default diary, that's yet another thing. You're right.
Yeah.
You've got all our strategies there, Fergus. Yeah, fantastic. And being militant with your time, I like that phrase,
Yeah.
you know, um, and I try and use the analogy, if you had a stack of 50 euro notes on the desk and every time somebody passed by they took one, you'd be upset. But if they take a minute of your time and it's never a minute,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's a good
you know,
analogy. Yeah,
so to be absolutely, if I lose money, I can go out and earn more money.
yeah,
But
yeah.
if I lose time, that's it. It's
That's
gone.
it. It's gone.
So be absolutely militant. I love that. Yeah, with your time. Um, so going back again, just what quality, I think again you've kind of covered it, but what qualities do you look for in employees and how do you foster a positive and productive work environment? How do you actually foster it? Maybe if we focus in on the positive collegiate atmosphere and getting the culture right. How do you put all that together? How do you practically make that work?
I suppose. one of the main things I suppose is I suppose the cooperative structure like that. That is a kind of one that people come in and kind of join for really. But I suppose after that we've noticed that maybe, and this is probably showing our age, that before, like we'd have a night out, and then everybody get together. But now I found actually that we did a impromptu just lunch out before Christmas.
Yeah.
Like everybody turned up. I was shocked actually. I was shocked. Everybody turned up. They had a great time. And it's okay. So then we just moved that to, if we're having a barbecue, we have it on a Friday lunchtime. So people come, they can have their 1 or 2 or 3 hours, and then if people want to stay for until 6, they can. But it really is to try to push put that kind of level of stuff like for their birthday we get them a cup, stuff,
Mhm.
a cup with their name on it.
Yeah.
We try to roll out a little bit something for Christmas we get them a jacket, just bits like that we mark their birthdays, so that I the culture is so nice, and it's I want to maintain it. So like often I'd leave on a Friday here, and I'd just look at the office and say, look, this is a brilliant situation. I've managed to land on my feet here. I just look back and I kind of thank, whatever gods or whatever you believe in, that this is working, and then just to maintain the whole, working environment scenario that we have. And like we're very flexible. As I say to everybody, I'm paying you to think, I'm not paying you to work. I mean, you have deliverables. Whether you do them in 2 hours or 10 hours, or where you doing at home or whatever.
Mhm.
There's key items. We obviously, if we have a client meeting, we have to be on site. But generally, they appreciate the. I think they appreciate the flexibility anyway. And
Yeah.
if in the morning they say I can't come in for until 3 hours, I say I don't even ask. I just say grand job. That's perfect. I'll see you after lunch.
Yeah. And what size team do you have? I never actually asked you that. Yeah.
We have at the moment we have close to 40 at the moment. Yeah, so it has got quite big, quite quick, really. Yeah, and so it's great. It seemed to be organically growing away with people that know people. Just they bring them on in and they join up, and it's project based, so we've got a nice backlog, or sorry, what we call backlog is future forecast ahead of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
I suppose that,
pipeline, if we call them that, maybe, yeah, projects.
yeah, yeah. So so like it's a good it's nice to have that future looking forecast ahead of us, and for all the people working with us. Um, and yeah, we'll see does it get any bigger or not. But it's, as I said, the most I one person who would be who was our main scheduler. He's a fantastic scheduler, really is. But he was saying, "Oh, like we're going to have a really, really tough year. Like it's a lot of projects." And I said, "Yes, yes, yes, yeah." But I said, "Brian, the most important, it has to be it has to be enjoyable." And he said, "I know, yeah, but it's going to be hard." And I said, "Yeah, yeah." And I said, "Yeah, yeah." I said, "But yeah, back to my first point. It needs to be, it needs to be enjoyable, because
Yeah. Well,
we're
it's one of my favorite core values to have fun.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It has to be, has to be."
Absolutely fantastic. Maybe just to wrap up, Fergus, what are some common misconceptions about running a business, and what do you do to address them?
Um, so I suppose my experience in business would be that, or the conceptions that I would hear is that, like everybody can start a business. Yes, they can, but you know, I'm not sure does everybody want to actually own a business. Okay, like I know from my heart and soul, I like being owning the business. I know if I make mistakes, my own money, and that's fine. That's perfect. That's exactly the way I want it. But I think from a business perspective, to start a business, you need three key items, I would say, from my perspective. You need to be technically very proficient, or somebody in the business needs to be technically a technical expert, like a top level expert.
Okay.
You need someone in the business needs to be really, really good with finance and budgets. Nearly on projects. We've one or two guys that would nearly be photographic from remembering project numbers and specific aspects of budgets, and that's people say you don't need to remember it, but when you're running multi-millionaire jobs, you need to remember your figures. You need to know what's value, what's not value, because otherwise people sell you perceived value, which is actually not value at all.
So,
And the third item is, which I did a lot of work on because a lot of engineers don't have this as their main forte, would be communication. And, you know, like just back to employees, so, a lot of engineers obviously would have, a bit of a communication issue, but some of them are very suited to work in certain groups, and once you put them in that group there, they fly like really, they fly. But as to recognize, I suppose, the the strong points of a person and also the weak points of a person, and emphasize the strong point, and get them um to a position or a place where they're really comfortable and enjoying their job, so that again took me probably on that 5-year journey from the last company to this company. I did a lot of work on that because, obviously coming from a farm and doing engineering, we didn't put in a huge amount of emphasis on prose and English and, writing essays. We didn't think there was, we didn't think there was any money in it, but actually, communication skills
yeah.
are probably one of my main points that I've learned throughout my career, albeit starting from quite a low base of of
All
it.
right.
So yeah, so I suppose that's the kind of,
Well,
the
yeah, well,
misconceptions. Yeah,
people have. So listen, Fergus, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. It's really appreciate you taking the time in your very structured time, which I
yeah,
support 100%. And that there's a whole bunch of stuff in there that our viewers can learn from. So really appreciate it. Thanks very
great,
much.
Kevin. Look, I really enjoyed it, and thanks again for inviting me onto your podcast.